How's it going, everybody? My name is Josie, and welcome to Josie's Movie Reviews, where we're going to be talking about The Equalizer, the 2014 film directed by Antoine Fuqua, starring Denzel Washington as Robert McCall, a former special service commander who faked his own death in hopes of living out a quiet life. Instead, he comes out of his self-imposed retirement to save a young girl played by Chloe Grace Moretz, and finds himself the desire for justice reawakened after coming face to face with members of a brutal Russian gang. Now, I remember back in 2014 when I was super excited for this movie. I thought the trailers looked like it was going to be a lot of fun, and I had no prior knowledge of the 1986 show, The Equalizer. So, going into this movie, I was going in kind of fresh, didn't really know who Robert McCall was or why he equalized. And at this point, I didn't know who Antoine Fuqua was. And boy, did I come out surprised by this movie. This movie came out roughly a month before John Wick did. And boy, would that have been a wonderful double feature because this movie was a lot of fun. This was actually my first time watching it in such a long while. I think it has been since I first watched it in theaters. Next year is going to be the 10-year anniversary of this movie. And boy, does that make me feel really old. But boy, did Denzel Washington kick so much ass as Robert McCall. Not only was he a charismatic presence on screen, but you see the relationship that he has with his co-workers. He works at a dollar store version of Home Depot, and he just basically sticks to himself. He goes to the same coffee shop to read a book, and that's where he meets Chloe Grace Moretz. And the chemistry that these two have together when they first meet is very nice. It's very quaint, it's very calm, and I really enjoyed it when they were both getting to know each other and talking. And unfortunately, that's the only gripe slash nitpick that I have with this movie, because even though I love the interaction between Chloe Grace Moretz and Denzel Washington, I do feel like she was only used to get him back into his old life, seeking justice for those that can't really stand up for themselves. And I kind of wish they used her a little bit more. I know this movie isn't called Denzel and Chloe, but no, once she gets put in a coma, she's really gone for the majority of this movie. And you kind of forget that she's in this movie up until she pops up at the end of the movie. However, with that nitpick aside, everything about this movie was absolutely fantastic. Denzel Washington was great as Robert McCall. He has a certain set of skills that he learned, and he doesn't pick up a gun, which is kind of refreshing to see because the only gun that he really picks up is a nail gun towards the end of the film when he's has his little showdown with the Russian gang. But he's really more quaint. He's really more quiet. He really knows how to use his skills and advantage without really needing to say a lot. And that is something that I really enjoyed about this character and about Denzel's performance in this movie. And when it comes down to a lot of the killing, some of it you don't get to see, some of it you just get to see the aftermath, or it's just really not all that violent. But all that is just a setup to the final act of this movie where he's taking out the Russian gang. Because once we get down to the last 20 minutes of this movie, it is just fascinating to see just the way that he takes everybody out using his skills, using the way he knows how to navigate around the store without really being heard, and just how quiet he is what works to his advantage, and that's what makes his character work. When it comes down to the villain, played by Martin Solska, I do apologize if I butchered the last name. I probably did. When it comes down to his villain, I thought he was pretty menacing. They used him in a very effective way, and just that little conversation he has with Robert at the dining store, where they're just both looking at each other, trying to intimidate one another, trying to see what makes each other tick. I thought that was very fascinating. What Antoine Fuqua does with this movie in the sense of direction and cinematography, I thought it worked very well. It made Boston feel alive. It kind of made it feel like a character in a way, and that's what I really enjoyed about this movie. It's not overly violent, it's not overly gratuitous, but you do feel the sense of intensity at times, and you kind of do see how he's able to navigate everything in life, whether he's timing it and just the way that he just basically takes everybody out. But overall, I'm going to go ahead and give The Equalizer a 7 out of 10. This movie was just as enjoyable as it was in 2014. And if you have not checked it out just yet, give it a watch because it is going to be a fun ride for you. But those are my thoughts on The Equalizer. What is your thoughts? Did you enjoy it back in 2014, or is this just one of those films that is kind of forgettable for you? Go ahead and drop your thoughts in the comments below, and I'll catch you guys for my Equalizer 2 review and The Slaughterhouse. Look forward to those.